great players. They have a great organization. And you tell them one thing.
What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that is new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's jump right into it. One of the biggest stories of this offseason, alongside with the whole quarterback situation, will be what will happen with our 4-year starting running back Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs being a former first-round pick, look, there's a lot of hype and expectations that he could be our future star running back, and Jacobs really showed out and impressed in his rookie season, where in my opinion he was robbed of being the offensive rookie of the year. And in this 2022 NFL season, I also think he was robbed of at least not being a finalist for the offensive player of the year in the National Football League. And our star defensive end Max Crosby spoke out on Twitter, making his stance very clear that he thought Josh Jacobs and Davante Adams should have both been finalists. There is no doubt that Josh Jacobs is coming off of an extraordinary individual season, having over 2,000 total scrimmage yards on the season and 12 touchdowns. But the Raiders having a disappointing season overall in terms of the win column. Look, I can totally understand why Jacobs was snubbed, and typically the Raiders don't get a whole lot of love from mainstream NFL media, but the main reason for this video was to talk about whether or not the contract negotiations and overall relationship between Josh Jacobs is beginning to take a turn, and if it is, what could this mean for the future of Jacobs moving forward in the silver and black. Josh Jacobs recently put out some interesting cryptic messages on his Twitter page where he stated, "It's gotta make sense for me," and another tweet saying, "It's more about life, but football too." Now, obviously, nobody but Josh Jacobs himself will know what exactly he meant by these tweets, but if we make an educated guess, it seems like it's most likely related to his upcoming contract with the Raiders. Now, I also don't know if the Raiders have already contacted him and initiated any type of talks related to his contract. Really, when it comes down to Josh Jacobs' contract, I assume it's going to come down to how much guaranteed money he will get offered from the Raiders and the overall length of his contract. And this is where it's going to be tricky between Jacobs and the Raiders front office, because although he's an extremely talented player, he plays a position that is brutal, and the shelf life of a running back is not very long. So really the last thing the Raiders want to do is offer him a whole bunch of guaranteed money, and in the next coming years, Jacobs begins to miss time on the field due to injuries, which can lead to the ultimate demise and downfall of the career of a running back. And of course, for this very reason is why Jacobs also is going to fight and try to get every penny he can on his new deal. Some important deadlines though to keep in mind for Jacobs and this whole contract situation would be February 21st, which is the first official day the Raiders can apply the franchise tag to any of their players, and the deadline to franchise tag a player will be March 7th. So look, February 21st and March is right around the corner. So we really won't get any official news regarding Jacobs getting franchise tag for at least around a month. But I will say for the past few weeks, I've really been leaning towards the fact that I think Jacobs is going to get franchise tag by the Raiders. The franchise tag on a running back would be approximately $10.1 million this upcoming season. And this would most definitely benefit the Raiders. The Raiders will have more time to be able to have Josh Jacobs on their roster for another year. They can also buy them a little bit more time to try to secure a long-term deal for Josh Jacobs. But now really the question is, if Josh Jacobs gets franchise tag, will this affect the relationship between Jacobs and this regime? Would Jacobs even go as far to even consider holding out from this team, holding out from training camp, demanding he gets his contract redone? It's still early to know for sure, but I mean the possibility of Jacobs holding out is very possible. We have seen it in the past from running backs trying to get a new deal with the franchise. One situation that really just jumps to my mind is between Le'Veon Bell and the Pittsburgh Steelers, where Le'Veon Bell was tagged in back-to-back years, which eventually led him to miss the entire 2018 NFL season. But ultimately, he did play under the franchise tag for that first year in 2017. He's held out early in training camp, but at the end of the day, he did report he ended up playing. But the second time he was hit with that franchise tag was really what forced him to hold out for the entire NFL season, which is mind-blowing to me now that I think about it. So look, even if Josh Jacobs gets tagged and he holds out, I don't think he will sacrifice missing the 2023 NFL season. It would really not make sense for him, in my opinion. Nobody would want to pay a running back big money after missing out on a full NFL season. He would lose out on a lot of money this next season. Really, the absolute worst case scenario would be that the Raiders franchise tag Josh Jacobs and end up trading Josh Jacobs for draft capital. Now, I think that would be the ultimate worst case scenario. I hope it does not come to that. And it's still pretty early for us to speculate that this will happen moving forward. But ultimately, the Raiders are not going to let Josh Jacobs walk. They're not going to let him hit the open market and leave for nothing. They're going to get something. Also, too, another factor to consider is I wonder if the Raiders potentially signing a veteran quarterback like Tom Brady, would that really change Josh Jacobs' stance, and would he be more willing to play under the franchise tag for next season? Because I remember back in 2020 when Brady was initially a free agent and Dana White was speaking with Josh Jacobs. He asked him what he thought of the possibility of Tom Brady signing with the Raiders. And I mean, Josh Jacobs really didn't say much, but that look he gave to Dana White kind of said it all for me, in my opinion. He low-key looked pretty excited about that opportunity, that possibility of playing with Tom Brady. And I think Josh Jacobs, look, of course he wants to get paid. He wants to secure his future, but he also wants to win. Seeing what he said in the past after that demoralizing loss to the Steelers on Christmas Eve, we saw how visibly frustrated Jacobs was and how he mentioned the fact that he was really tired of losing. So, if you think about it, bringing in a 7-time Super Bowl winner may excite Josh Jacobs to ball out for one more season, be a professional, play under that franchise tag, and ultimately potentially compete for a potential championship run where he would be a huge focal point in this offense. There's no doubt about that. Also, too, I hope Jacobs is a Raider next season and ideally secure him long term, because if Jacobs does get traded in that ultimate worst case scenario, look, then I think our chances of landing a top tier quarterback like Tom Brady or even trading for a guy like Aaron Rodgers would greatly diminish. Look, at this point in both of those guys' careers, I think they understand how crucial it is to have an effective ground game to win in the National Football League. The Raiders do have a lot of young running backs on the roster, but they most definitely are not a huge selling point compared to having Josh Jacobs, who's coming off of being the NFL's leading rusher for the 2022 NFL season. But look, those are my thoughts and opinions on Jacobs. If I had to give my best guess, I think he will eventually get franchise tag, but also there's still plenty of time until that deadline to wait and see if any more reports come out about the negotiation process between Jacobs and the Raiders. It'll be tricky. Ultimately, if a deal gets done for a long-term contract for Jacobs, is really going to come down to compromise between both parties. Which party is willing to compromise on certain aspects, which party is willing to compromise the most, and ultimately how can they work together to find a sweet spot that is not only beneficial to Josh Jacobs, the player, but also is in the best interest for our franchise and moving forward. But Raider Nation, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think will be the future of Josh Jacobs? Will he get franchise tag? Will he be gone? Will we get a long-term deal done with Josh Jacobs? Let me know. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that's all I have for you guys in today's video. Anybody that is new to the channel, you guys love Raiders related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.